It was a big week for the Tea Party affiliated candidates. Christine O'Donnell's surprise win in Delaware very likely would not have happened but for the endorsement of my next guest. We welcome back to the program former presidential candidate and Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, and also with a Republican Senate candidate from Kentucky, Dr. Rand Paul, who also benefited from Governor Palin's backing. Governor Palin, Dr. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Governor, yesterday was a particularly sweet triumph for those who believe in small government and maximum individual liberty and sound money. But it also showed, I think, a disconnect between Republican leadership and the rank and file. How do you explain the triumph of Christine O'Donnell in Delaware over somebody who was the former lieutenant governor, the former governor, and had been in Congress for 18 years?
I think Christine said it best when she said this is just a reflection of the sentiment of voters who are saying no more of the same, no more embracing status quo. We're ready to shake it up and ready to put government back on our side. Smaller, smarter government is what we need, and that's what her campaign was about. And it was, as you're suggesting, also a bit about bucking the tide there with some GOP leadership that maybe has some ideas on, I guess, governing more towards the middle, which really is governing towards the left. And Christine has reflected that message and those principles that say, no, we want to rein in the federal government, give more rights back to the states as they should be, and to our small businesses and to our individuals.
Dr. Paul, you had a similar experience in Kentucky when you took on the Kentucky Republican establishment with most elected Republican office holders opposing you, and you won in the primary with huge numbers. Has the party united behind you, or has the mushy middle in the Republican Party stayed away from your candidacy?
No, I think very much the party has come together, and what it means when you win the primary is you get to help shape what the party becomes. You know, Jefferson always said that we have to renew and defend liberty every generation. I think a political party is redefined, and its definition is by its new leadership. And one of the interesting things I think about Delaware is they're saying Tea Party can't win in Delaware. Well, the things that we talk about are popular everywhere, even the Northeast. Balanced budget amendment, term limits, reading the bills. The message of the Tea Party goes across party lines, and if I think Christine can present that message, I think she can win in Delaware, and that'll be a great victory if she can win up there.
Governor, the personal attacks on Christine O'Donnell have already begun, and they've come from some unlikely, or maybe, as we're learning now, likely sources. Yesterday, Karl Rove, who may or may not have had something to do with the Castle campaign, the person that she defeated, Congressman and former Governor Michael Castle, certainly managed both of George Bush's presidential campaigns, and is a well-known and well-liked Republican operative, unloaded on Christine O'Donnell. Take a listen to what he said. None of this has anything to do with the issues. It's all a personal attack on her as a person. I'd like your thoughts on it.
I think the questions about why she had a problem for 5 years with paying her federal income taxes, why her house was foreclosed on and put up for a sheriff's sale while it took 16 years for her to settle her college debt and get her diploma after she went around for years claiming she was a college graduate. These and other troubling sort of personal background things, she thinks that she has explained them. I think she's got to. I think a lot of voters in Delaware are going to want more than she's offering to them right now.
Governor, that was not Chuck Schumer. That was Karl Rove. What the heck is going on here?
Well, I hear that and I think, well, Christine, join the club. I remember having to explain for many, many, many weeks why it took me 4.5 or 5 years to get a 4-year degree, and a lot of that criticism that I had received with my personal background came from the GOP operatives. So, those type of attacks, though, ultimately, they make you stronger, they make you work even harder, and that's what we need out of Christine and every other candidate. But what I would like to see Karl Rove and these others do is perhaps start looking at the opponents, those on the left, left, who I believe are part of a party that has been weakened because more and more Americans are waking up to their ideas and their policies that have been failing the American public, and start focusing on what some of their ideas are that are so poor, and start getting off the personal stuff, getting off the things that are irrelevant there on the periphery, and sticking with the issues and sticking with what it is in this instance, what Christine is really representing.
Dr. Paul, will people like you, if you're elected, and Sharon Angle, if she is elected, and Christine O'Donnell, if she is elected, feel that tug toward the middle, towards the country club Republican ways, or can you resist that temptation and steadfastly hold true to the concept of individual liberty and limited government, and emphasize limited government, because we haven't seen limited government in the lifetimes of any of us?
Well, many people have asked me, how are you going to work with the other side? Can you work with the other side and still keep your principles? I think if you don't emphasize party so much, you can. I mean, many times you have Republicans who say, oh, Democrats are evil, and vice versa, and I don't see things in terms of party at all. I've always held to the belief that the elections are about the man or woman running for office and not the party, and that's what's important. So I think if I'm in Washington, the Democrats will see me as someone who says, you know what, Republicans haven't always done a good enough job on the deficit. We need to do better, and it's not just the blame on President Obama, although he is probably the best recruiter we've ever had for our party. But we deserve some of the blame. When we were in charge, we didn't do a good enough job on the debt. And I think if you're honest and honestly assess where we have our own faults and don't make it about party, I think I can keep my principles and still work with people on the other side of the aisle.
You are also sitting next to one of the best recruiters that the Republicans have had, certainly conservative, libertarian, and traditionalist Republicans. Governor Palin, I was looking at the numbers this morning. I think of the 45 contested Republican races in the primaries in 2010, you chose, endorsed, and probably caused the winners in 25 or 26 of them. That's a pretty good record. Will the Republicans that you oppose, the ones that lost, the people like Mike Castle, come around, or will they sit on the sidelines and not help the people that defeated them defeat Democrats?
Well, first, I think this will be the first time that I've ever disagreed with you, Judge, when there is a suggestion that it was having anything to do with my endorsement that would bolster any candidate or campaign, because I absolutely cannot take credit for any of it. The candidates are the one out there sharing their ideas and letting voters know that they're running for the right reasons, and I just have the privilege of getting to kind of shake it up in contested primaries, and that was good for democracy. It was good for the voters because competition makes everybody work harder. So I enjoyed my role, if you will, there in these endorsements that were made. But yes, those Republicans who were part of a campaign that was not successful this go around, they have to remember that now is the time for unity, because the time for choosing is very near. And failed campaigns too, their attitudes, they are contagious, so we want to make sure that their attitudes coming into the general are worth catching, and we need to make sure that the message is solid, it is united, it's just common sense solutions that Americans are seeking and that the GOP is able to put on the table.
I think you're just being modest, Governor, but you make a great argument. Governor Palin, Dr. Rand Paul, thanks very much for joining us.